Hey there, I'm Anatoliu. This is a video on the Necrosaro boss fight at the end of Dragon Warrior IV. I'm going to be talking you through how to handle probably the most difficult and interesting and fun boss fight in all of Dragon Warrior IV. This is using the speedrun strategies. So, of course, this is 7 hours into a very long, complex game. So if you're just kind of finding this video right now, well, enjoy it, but know that there's a lot more before you even get to this part. This is essentially a video companion to a guide that EvilAsh25 made several years ago that he actually keeps nicely updated. So I made a tiny URL link there, tiny.cc/OKYP001. So you can always find his guide if you need to. It's also linked in the RTA speedrunning compendium. So what we're going to talk about today is kind of everything around why we do what we do to get through this fight as quickly as possible and as safely as reasonable coming in at the levels we have in the speedrun. So we're going to kind of go over, in theory, the fight first, and then we'll play through it. Before we dive in, I'm just going to emphasize always that this is a fight you should practice. That's the case with almost every Dragon Quest speedrun final boss. You should really practice the fight. We're going to kind of have a roadmap here. We're going to talk about what we do in some instances, but you know, this is a very random game, and your best chance of success as soon as something random happens in the fight is to have prepared by practicing and figuring out, you know, what works and what doesn't work in strange situations. All right. Cool. So before the fight, if you're right here where this party of adventurers is standing, what do? So, you know, you don't just appear in front of Necrosaro. You have a final dungeon to go through, Necrosaro's palace, as well as the walk up the mountain here. So the main thing that I try to do is keep Cristo and Hero's MP above 60. If you end up having to go a little bit below 60, it's usually fine. If the fight goes well, Hero and Cristo are probably not using more than like 40 MP total each in the fight. And having an extra 20 there is good insurance, just in case you have to improvise or play it safe a little bit extra. But the main thing I want to emphasize is don't go all in using just Cristo's MP. Don't just use Hero's. It's really good if you can have them both kind of coming into the fight with a similar amount of MP, because they both end up needing it kind of similarly. All right, get ready for the battle. So we've got 4 things that we need to do before we're ready to fight Necrosaro, and we're standing right here. Number 1, very important, party order. This is not a party order you probably use anywhere else in the whole speedrun, but it's really important that your order is set specifically Ragnar, Alina, Hero, Cristo. The reason for that is because of item number 2 here. What we're gonna do at the beginning of the fight is get Cristo to cast the increase spell on the entire party twice. In order to do that, he's gonna be looking at the maximum HP of Ragnar and Alina. Specifically, he's going to look at the front 2 characters, which is why you're putting those 2 in front. The hero naturally has the highest defense going into the fight, because she's equipped with all the Zenithian equipment. So yeah, Cristo's looking at the front 2 characters' maximum HP, their defense, and then that kind of in combination with Necrosaro's attack power, right? So how much damage is going to happen to the people most likely to get hit? This is what Cristo is thinking about. So what you need to do is make sure Christo is going to cast Increase twice on the party, so you actually get the defense boost you want to go through the whole fight. Dr. Mr. Holmes, with some, kind of help on the programming end from others in the community like Vaxer and Countess, put together this really helpful chart of where Alina and Ragnar need to have their defense in order to get Christo to cast Increase twice. So, to read the chart here, if Alina has 240 max HP, she needs to have less than 110 defense. And Ragnar, if he were to have 270 HP, he would need to have less than 133 defense. If both of those are true, then you should get Christo to begin the fight by casting Increase twice. So this is kind of annoying when you're like trying to go fast in the speedrun. And so I have some rules of thumb for myself in my notes, specifically with my own equipment that my party usually has, and we can take a look at it. Ragnar's got a Dragon Mail, Iron Mask, Mirror Shield. Alina has Feather Hat and a Cloak of Evasion. With those things, my thresholds are 285 and 250. It's hard to always know exactly what's going to happen because, of course, as we know in Dragon Quest, the amount of agility somebody has also affects their defense power. So my numbers kind of assume that Ragnar and Alina both rolled kind of high agility. So anyway, my overall rules of thumb, just so I can go faster, are if Ragnar is under 285, I don't worry about it. If Alina is under 250, I don't worry about it. And if they are over those, then I have to reduce their defense somehow. When you route out how you are going to play the game, you have to kind of figure out what's going to work for you. You can see with the setup I have here, Ragnar could take off an Iron Mask. He could equip the Demon Armor, because I picked that up on this run. I don't really do that anymore, but it's a possibility. Demon Armor is cursed, but it just reduces your agility to 0, which doesn't matter to Ragnar. With Alina, a lot of people end up taking her hat off. There are other options here. Maybe you keep her chainmail and you can remove the cloak or something. Anyway, kind of know what your options are, so that if they end up getting huge HP rolls as they're getting levels, you can reduce their defense and not be thrown off at the very beginning of the Necrosaro fight. Alright, item number 3. Make sure Hero has all the right stuff in her inventory. Let's look at the hero's inventory here. Pretty much no matter how you are playing this fight, your inventory should look like this. Maybe not in the same order. Hero is wearing all of the Zenithian armor. Hero is equipped with the Sword of Lethargy. Hero is holding Leaf of the World Tree, Dew of the World Tree, and the Sword of Decimation. The Zenithian Sword you will only need if you power up the Zenithian Sword with Master Dragon before you come here, which is a added safety for Phase 3 of the boss fight. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. Also very important, and something people often forget, Ragnar must be equipped with the Sword of Lethargy. Usually in the speedrun route, you are using the Sword of Miracles on Ragnar through the entire boss rush until you are entering Necrosaro's palace, and then you go and sell that and you buy Ragnar a Sword of Lethargy. It's pretty easy to forget to equip it or forget to do that shopping trip entirely. This fight is certainly winnable if Ragnar has the Sword of Miracles equipped instead of the Sword of Lethargy, but you're going to have a harder time. However, if you do that, don't worry about ironizing in Phase 7. Doesn't matter. Okay. Finally, last thing, heal to full HP. I know, it's a speed run. You want to go fast. Just, it's fine. It's the final boss. Heal. Heal up. Cool. With that, Phase 1. Okay. So every phase we're going to have our objectives. We're going to talk about what the objectives are, and then we're going to go through what specifically are we doing here. And again, I'm going to come back. We're going to play through the fight. So we're just talking through this at first. The objectives in phase 1 are to get Christo to cast Increase twice on the active party, which is Ragnar, Alina, Hero, and Christo. And then we want to get Bray to cast Bykill on Ragnar and the Hero. Those two are most important. And then Alina, that one's more of a nice to have. It's not really a huge deal if she doesn't get it, but it does make the fight a little bit better. And then in order to do that, we'll cast Fence Spell on Necrosaro. That is specifically to have Christo not try to cast offensive spells on Necrosaro because they won't land, and to get Bray to not cast offensive spells on Necrosaro. So it's important for both of them to do buffing actions on the party instead of offensive actions against the boss. Alright, Christo's going to cast Increase twice on the party. The Hero is just going to try to keep everyone kind of topped up on HP so that Christo doesn't decide to heal instead of increasing the defense of the party. Also, I see people get confused by this a lot. If Ragnar hits Necrosaro with his Sword of Lethargy and puts him to sleep, Christo's not going to cast Increase while Necrosaro's asleep because he's not going to see Necrosaro as a damage threat, right? So if that happens, just parry, wait for him to wake up, and Christo should come back around to casting Increase. All right. Once you've got those up, you are going to move into Bykill. So the first thing you're going to do is get Alina out of there. She is going to do a little bit too much damage too fast if she gets a bunch of critical hits. You also want to set up a coffin block for Bray. So there's kind of a lot happening here, but this is a really crucial part of the fight. So specifically, you switch Alina, who's in slot 2, for Talon, who is dead, right? He's probably still level 1, and he's dead. And then you are going to start using the Sword of Decimation as an item to reduce Necrosaro's defense. I say Talon specifically rather than any other dead party members like Nara or Mara, because we want to make sure that Christo's action happens before the party member switch, and the turn order on that is decided by the character who is coming into the fight. So if we're switching Alina out and Talon in, then the game is going to look at Talon's agility to decide the initiative order for that. You do not want a dead party member to come into the fight before Christo's action, because Christo will just cast Vivify on them, which is a waste of everybody's time and MP. Alright, so you're starting to use the Sword of Decimation. In order to get Bykill, we need a few things. One of them is we need to reduce Necrosaro's defense. So we're going to use the Sword of Decimation as an item. In phase 1, it's got a 5 out of 12 chance to land and reduce Necrosaro's defense. So it's pretty common that it takes a few tries to get it. It's not a big deal. We kind of have that planned in. Alright, no matter what happens, whether this lands or whether it doesn't land, the following turn, we switch Christo out and we bring Bray in, right? So at this point, our party order is going to be Ragnar, Dead Talon, Hero, and Bray. And again, that's happening right there because we don't want Christo to cast Vivify on our Ghost. And Bray is being brought in there because then we have the coffin block set up, right? You've got a dead party member somewhere in the first few slots, and then Bray is in the back. So direct physical attacks from Necrosaro, and that's all he does in phase 1 and phase 2. They will not hit the character in the back of the party. One hit will probably kill Bray, right? Bray's not a strong guy. He's got like, something like 80 HP in this fight. Alright, so that's going to be your setup. You're going to keep using the Sword of Decimation until his defense is reduced, at which point Bray will begin casting Bykill on the party. So Bykill is finicky. A lot of people have trouble with this fight because of Bykill. Bykill is... Bray's decision to use Bykill is based on several things. First of all, can he hurt the enemy? You should have Fence Spell up, so Bray should see that, and then he'll say, okay, I can't can't hurt Necrosaro by casting Ice Bolt, which is Bray's favorite spell, on Necrosaro. So what should I do instead? He's going to decide to use Bykill based off a calculation, which we're not going to get into the details of, but it's basically a ratio of the character's attack damage over the enemy's remaining HP out of their total, right? So this phase 1 Necrosaro is 800 HP total. Bray is going to look at, all right, how much damage is Ragnar going to do as a proportion of the ratio of Necrosaro's HP out of his total, right? And this is where it gets complicated. Fortunately, you don't really need to like do math for this part. You just need to have an understanding that Bray's not going to cast Bykill until you've done enough damage to Necrosaro's phase 1 for Bray to see that this ratio has been crossed. So a lot of the time what happens is you will get to this point, you'll have reduced Necrosaro's defense, and then Bray is like there, and he just like hits Necrosaro for 1 point of damage with his stick or whatever, or with his bare hands. Yeah, if that's happening, it's fine. Just, you know, let Ragnar hit him, or you can hit him with the hero if, you know, not that much damage has happened. This is one of those, like, you gotta have a feel for this kind of thing. If Alina's gotten some critical hits, you might be in danger. You don't want to do extra damage. If Alina hasn't gotten any critical hits, you might have to, like, hit Necrosaro with the sword, with the hero sword a couple times, in order to get Bray to play along. Cool. There's another side of this too, which is if Necrosaro is almost completely out of HP, like let's say he's only got like 20 HP out of his 800 left, Bray is probably just going to attack him. He's going to say, it's not worth me casting Bykill at this point. So there's kind of an upper end of that range and a lower end of that range where you will not get Bykill. If you're following the order that we have here, Bray is going to cast Bykill on Ragnar first, at which point you will then switch Ragnar out for a ghost, either Nara or Mara, right? Nara or Mara. The following turn, Bray should cast Bykill on the hero. I will say, every once in a while, you've crossed the threshold where Bray will cast Bykill on Ragnar, but you haven't done enough damage for him to then cast Bykill on the hero. So if it happens, like Bray Bykills Ragnar, and then the following turn, Bray just attacks Necrosaro or something, just do like one hit on Necrosaro, and then you should get Bykill on the hero the next turn. And then once you've got that, bring Alina in to slot 2. Bray should cast Bykill on her, at which point you are good. That's phase 1. It happens not super uncommonly that the phase ends before you can get the Bykill on Alina. And, you know, some people really kind of get stuck on the idea that you've got to get Bykill on Alina. And what I would say is, let it go. Like, it's fine. You got it on Ragnar, you got it on a hero. Those are the two most important ones. Alina is a heavy damage dealer in this fight, but she also has a enormous critical hit rate, right? Bykill is cool because it doubles your attack, but it also makes it so you cannot get critical hits. That's not really a big deal for Ragnar and the hero because they're not getting very many anyway. But the trade-off with Alina is, yeah, she won't crit when she's got Bykill. But if she's not Bykilled, she'll get critical hits. And usually it just ends up being a little bit less overall damage to not have Alina Bykilled. So, yeah, don't obsess over it. Just move on. Alright, that's phase 1. Phase 2. So in phase 2 is, as we all know, is kind of like just a weaker version of phase 1, right? You've cut off one of Necrosaro's arms. He's only attacking once per turn instead of twice. If you didn't get Bykill on the hero and Ragnar, you have your opportunity to complete the setup here in phase 2. So that's your objective. I will say, if you're playing the fight well, you should really rarely end up having to do this. Like, this only happens if Alina opened the fight up by getting like 3 critical hits on Necrosaro or something. Like, it's just really rare that if you're playing the fight well, you have to finish your setup in phase 2. But it happens, right? It happens. So if you have to, remember the fundamentals, right? You've got to cast Fend spell on Necrosaro. Otherwise, Bray is just going to cast Ice Bolt on Necrosaro phase 2. And then you've got to use the Sword of Decimation to reduce Necrosaro's defense. And then you've got to get Necrosaro into that range where he'll cast Spy Kill, which is harder to do in phase 2 because phase 2 has less max HP compared with phase 1, right? So that range where Bray will cast Spy Kill on party members is smaller in phase 2 than it was in phase 1. So it's harder to get the setup. All right. So regardless of kind of how that went for you, what you're going to do is you're going to build your party up to get ready for phase 3. So you've completed your setup. You've got Increase. You've got Spy Kill. You are going to replace Bray with Lucia. So Lucia is going to be in the back of your party here. And then you'll bring in Ragnar. And then Ragnar, Alina, Hero, and Lucia is what you want going into phase 3. A lot of the time, you've completed your setup in phase 1 and you do your party switching, bring Lucia in, and then bring Ragnar in, and then you just hold the A button, complete the phase. Alright, phase 3. Phase 3 is tough. So, in phase 3, Necrosaro has 6 possible actions, as we can see here. One of the 6 is Beat, single target instant death spell. One of the 6 is a Sleep Breath. One of the 6 is the Increase spell to increase Necrosaro's defense. Increase and Beat are obviously the really bad ones. Sleep Breath can be disruptive, but it's not a huge deal most of the time. His other 3 actions, Firebane, Snowstorm, and Attacking, are what you really want him to be doing. Alright, we have one objective in phase 3, and that is to get out of phase 3 as quickly as possible. This is a tough phase. He's got 1200 total HP, right? So it's long. What you're going to do is you're going to attack. You've got this party setup that we talked about, right? Ragnar, Alina, Hero, Lucia. Lucia is here to keep everyone alive. You should not really be using the hero to heal in phase 3. The hero should be attacking. So you're attacking to put him to sleep, because if he's asleep, he's not casting Beat and he's not casting Increase. If he does cast Increase, you've got to lower his defense to complete the phase, because you're just not going to be doing very much damage. So, Hero's got that Sword of Decimation. It is still a 5 out of 12 chance to land the defense reduction. So, it can be pretty scary if he gets Increase up and you're trying to lower his defense, it's not working. This is one of the places the fight can really get away from you. This is the benefit to going ahead and powering up that Zenithian Sword with Master Dragon, because if it's a powered up Zenithian Sword, it will guaranteed 100% of the time remove the Increase buff from Necrosaro, right? So it's pretty powerful. Not everyone does it. It does take a minute to go do it. You know, kind of got to go out of your way to go talk to Master Dragon, but this is where it pays off. All right, and then if Necrosaro is landing the Beat spell on your characters, this is one of the reasons you have a Leaf of the World tree in your inventory, so use it, right? Do not be afraid to use it. Every single one of these people at this point, Ragnar, Alina, Hero, and Lucia, are critical party members for the rest of this fight. So if any of them dies, you want to revive them. It really sucks when the hero in particular in slot 3 dies, because then what you end up having to do is you have to bring Christo in and hope that he lands a Vivify successfully. That's pretty rare, but it happens. Alright, phase 3. It's always a relief to get through phase 3 because phase 4 is much easier. Okay, so phase 4 is interesting because in phase 4, instead of random actions, he's following an attack pattern. Technically, this is like a pattern that starts from turn 1 of the entire fight. So if you were really good at counting how many turns have gone by, you would actually be able to know which attack he's on. But that's like a superhuman trait, superhuman talent. So for the rest of us, we're going to need to figure out where we are in his pattern. The 3 objectives for Phase 4 are to make sure we do not get hit by freezing waves, right? Which is the 3rd action in his 6-action cycle. Reduce his defense, and take him out. The transition between Phase 3 and Phase 4, when he turns from a yellow guy into a green guy, is actually a free turn, right? You are able to attack Phase 4, and he does not take an action during the transformation phase. You've cut off his head at the end of Phase 3. He needs to take 1 turn to grow a new face in his belly. So you're going to take that free turn to attack him. If you put him to sleep, then great. You might not have to ironize. If he's not asleep, which is more common, you need to ironize, which is going to pass 3 turns, but you will be able to see where in this attack pattern you are. You might have to, like, let's say you ironize and it's like Scorching Gas, Attack, Violent Blaze. The very next action coming up is going to be Freezing Waves, in which case you need to ironize again. So you pass Freezing Waves, Attack, Blaze. You really do not want to lose all of the hard work you did getting increase and buy kill on your party members just to lose it here in Phase 4. Alright, so once you know he's not going to Freezing Waves you use the Sword of Decimation to lower his defense. Phase 4, 5, and 6 are nice because he is twice as vulnerable to having his defense reduced by the Sword of Decimation. So instead of a 5 out of 12 chance, it's a 5 out of 6 chance, which is great. So essentially what you can do is once you got this defense reduced, you're not going to get hit by Freezing Waves. Just attack, finish the phase out. It's nice if he falls asleep, whatever. You just need to be paying attention to his attack pattern. Make sure that you are not going to get hit. Some people, I'm not going to name any names here, some people take the risk, the 1 in 6 risk of just attacking to try to get through the fight without ironizing and checking to see where he is. And personally, my opinion is that that's a bad idea. Phase 5. So in Phase 5, Necrosaro is going to take 2 actions a turn. He's going to attack, or he's going to use Scorching Gas. Half and half probability. Our objectives in this phase are pretty straightforward. We're going to reduce Necrosaro's defense with the Sword of Decimation. We are going to remove Alina from the party at full health, which is going to set up a coffin block for Lucia. Specifically, we want Lucia to be coffin blocked in Phase 6 because Necrosaro's attack power skyrockets when he goes from Phase 5 to Phase 6. Ragnar and Hero can handle it, and Lucia cannot handle it. So, pretty straightforward. You're going to start the phase by using Sword of Decimation, reduce his defense. If it doesn't work on the first try, switch Alina out, try again. Should be fine. If you don't hit it at all, it's really not that big a deal. Again, we're going to switch Alina for Talon, specifically Talon, Ghost of Talon, because he's slow, so that Hero will go first and cast Heal All on Alina before she leaves the battle. Right? So that turn is going to say, we're switching Alina for Talon. Hero is going to act, heal Alina up to full HP, and then Talon's Ghost will come in at the end of the turn because he's so slow. We are ending this phase with the party order Ragnar, Ghost Talon, Hero Lucia. So that one's pretty straightforward. Alright, we go into Phase 6. So Phase 6 is kind of, like I said, a pumped up version of Phase 5. He's got a little bit less HP, but he's more likely to attack. It's now 2/3 to attack, and only 1/3 to Scorching Gas, and his attack power is way higher. So you have to expect that in this phase, Necrosaro is just hitting you with huge, powerful physical attacks, which is not a big deal for Ragnar and Hero. I mean, it's still going to hurt, but Lucia should generally be able to keep up with it. Sometimes in phase 5 and phase 6, you do need to like take a turn, have Hero heal somebody just to kind of stay ahead of the damage. It definitely happens sometimes. All right, what are we doing in phase 6? We are once again reducing Necrosaro's defense with Sword of Decimation. It's easy to do, 5 out of 6 chance. We are going to, maybe about halfway through the phase somewhere, we're going to remove Lucia from the party at high HP. It's max if you can get it, but because he's using Scorching Gas sometimes you like heal Lucia, but then a Scorching Gas comes out and you don't quite get her out at max HP. It's fine. Don't obsess over it. You just want her to not be like close to death or something. And very, very, very importantly, we are trying to go into phase 7 with Ragnar and the Hero in as good a shape as possible. And actually, you know, we've been trying to like set up the entire party to be in as good a shape as possible because phase 7 is where it gets real, right? So Ragnar at this point, if you think about it, Ragnar should have pretty high HP. He should have 2 increased spells and a buy kill. Alina, full HP, 2 increased spells, probably buy kill. Hero, pretty full HP, 2 increased spells and a buy kill. Christo, 2 increases. Lucia, high HP, right? And Bray should be safe and sound. He should not ever have been in danger of getting hit in phase 1 or phase 2 because he was always coffin blocked. All right, so you've been taking care of everybody in your party. Phase 6, you just kind of go through it. This is the phase where it's probably most important to actually keep track of your damage. Because if like Ragnar is 1 or 2 hits away from sending Necrosaro into phase 7, then Hero should probably not be attacking. Hero should be like healing Ragnar preemptively. Just like, okay, the turn order is probably not guaranteed because turn order in Dragon Quest is bad, but like it's probably going to go Necrosaro, then Hero, then Ragnar, right? So you kind of expect, okay, Necrosaro is going to act. He's either going to attack or he's going to use Scorching Gas. Once you've removed Lucia, you know that direct physical attacks are not coming to the Hero, right? The Hero is coffin blocked. So it's only going to be Scorching Gas, which is a pretty low amount of damage, really, that's coming to the Hero. So, yeah, kind of like Hero using a heal all on Ragnar so that when Ragnar knocks Necrosaro into phase 7, both of your characters are like as close to full HP as possible. Just the higher you are HP-wise going into phase 7, the more of a buffer you have for things going wrong, which is really, really crucial. Cool. All right, phase 7, the real final boss fight. Phase 7. So he's got 1200 HP and he is regenerating 100 HP per turn. This is crucial to keep in mind. This is the only phase in the Necrosaro fight which is regenerating HP. All the other ones are just the set amount. Of phase 7, 100 more every single turn. Whenever you see this kind of thing in a Dragon Quest speedrun or Dragon Quest boss fight, what this means is that aggression is rewarded. Alright, what are our objectives? Our objectives are the party AI needs to learn about Necrosaro's strengths and weaknesses. Party AI in Dragon Warrior IV. So obviously in Chapter 5, NES and Famicom version, you only have direct control over the hero, right? Everyone else, all you have is tactics. Offensive or normal, which, by the way, are exactly the same in every unrunnable boss fight. Just defaults to a boss tactic. You have defense. You have use no MP, right? All this stuff. For the entire Necrosaro fight, you are on defensive tactic. The party AI is based on how many turns of exposure the entire party, it's not like character by character or anything like that, the entire party has had to a monster. And it considers each of Necrosaro's phases a different monster. These are all coded into the monster index separately. So when phase 7 Necrosaro shows up, the characters have never seen him before. This is a brand new monster. So you're going to ironize so that specifically Ragnar learns that he should not use the Sword of Lethargy as an item in battle because Necrosaro is resistant to sleep. But instead, the only thing that Ragnar can do which is useful is attack Necrosaro. Which is really important because Ragnar is equipped, as we all know, with the Sword of Lethargy, right? He's got it equipped. So, every time Ragnar attacks, thanks to the programming bug for Sword of Lethargy, every time Ragnar hits the monster with the Sword of Lethargy, he has a 3 out of 8 chance to put it to sleep. Same with the hero. So a little bit less than half, right? 3 out of 8. You want Necrosaro to sleep in phase 7. You essentially need Necrosaro to sleep. So it is critical that Ragnar's AI learns to attack with the sword instead of using it as an item. Alright, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to have a turn, or 2, or many turns, where we are trying to put Necrosaro to sleep while keeping everyone alive. This part's hard. It's a hard part. Then, while he's asleep, because having him asleep is objective number 2, right? Objective number 3 is to reduce his defense with the Sword of Decimation. We are unfortunately back to a 5 out of 12 chance here on phase 7. So it's not easy. You're also trying to stay alive, which is also not easy. These two things, put Necrosaro to sleep while staying alive, reduce Necrosaro's defense while staying alive, this is the hardest part of the fight. Right? This is where too many things can go wrong. This is where your actions really matter. Could really be the difference between success and failure. And then do as much damage as quickly as possible, right? And that's this. He's regenerating 100 HP a turn. You need to get through 1200 plus, staying ahead of his regeneration. However, take the right action to save the fight. It's not straightforward, but it's complicated, right? This is a complicated battle. Okay, what does that mean turn by turn? So sometimes Necrosaro starts out phase 7 asleep. It's a 3 out of 8 chance, right? If he got knocked into the next phase by Hero or Ragnar. If he started off asleep, then great. You've already done this. You don't need to ironize immediately. Like, try to get his defense reduced while he's sleeping. Usually you have to ironize sometime. Every once in a while you're just so lucky with sleep hits that you don't end up having to ironize and you can just take him down really quick. That is not the boss fight we are planning for here. So you need to pass some turns to teach Ragnar's AI. Every time you cast the Ironize spell, 3 turns pass. And essentially, it's a probabilistic thing of whether the AI learns about Necrosaro's resistance to sleep. The way the math ends up working out is if you Ironize 3 times, you've got an 80% chance that everyone knows. If you Ironize 4 times, you've got a 92% chance. And then from there, it's like, you know, you're getting to like 95%, 96, 97%, right? You could Ironize like 10 times and it still wouldn't be 100% guaranteed. But 3 to 4 is where, you know, you're a lot more likely than not that you're probably good. Personally, I almost always do 4 times. Three feels a little bit too unsafe to me, but you can make your own decisions. All right, so you've ironized. What are you doing? You have your party order, the end of phase 6, Ragnar, Ghost Talon, Hero. You are going to attack. This is the scariest moment of your life, right here. You've done everything you can. You're going to hit Necrosaro twice. Ragnar's going to hit him. Hero's going to hit him. Necrosaro's going to do whatever the hell he wants to do, right? He's got a 1 out of 3 chance to attack. 1 out of 3 chance to use Freezing Waves, which will remove your buy kills and your increases. Or a 1 in 6 chance to Violent Blaze. 1 in 6 chance to Icy Wind. Icy Wind is the worst thing. Just enormous AoE damage. Yeah, he's going to do whatever he's going to do. You are trying to put him to sleep. If he doesn't go to sleep immediately, your first option of a person to bring out is Lucia. So you would bring Lucia in, probably into like slot 3, keep Hero in the back. At this point, Lucia is helpful for any healing you can get out of her, but she is ultimately expendable at this point. So we'll bring her out. You might need to bring Christo out too, right? Lucia first, because she's a little bit less useful. And then Christo second. He's a little more useful just because he also has the Vivify spell, right? He also might occasionally be helpful for attacking, kind of adding damage. He's got a Sword of Miracles equipped. Or maybe a useful upper spell, you never know. In general, the person in the back of the party who is least likely to get absolutely wailed on should be either the Hero or Alina. Hero and Alina are your 2 most valuable party members now that you are into phase 7. Hero because that's you can control them. And Alina because she is your main DPS, right? She is doing damage to get through this. Alright. So, where are we? Necrosaro is asleep. We got him to sleep. Alright, we are using the Sword of Decimation while he's asleep. Once you've gotten it, it's time to bring Alina out. Alina does not come out until defense is reduced, right? Ideally, Alina's not coming out unless Necrosaro is asleep and defense is reduced. Like, you really want both of those things. Because what you don't want is Alina comes out and then immediately just like loses their buffs. Everyone just gets rocked, right? You are trying to like set things up as well as you can for success. And then you've got to get through all this damage, right? So there's a pretty good chance that at some point when Necrosaro was awake, he cast Freezing Waves. Everyone lost their buffs. You're not going to try to bring Increase back, but you may want to try to bring Buy Kill back. So remember, if you need to get buy kill restored, what it takes to get buy kill, right? The nice thing about phase 7 is Necrosaro started the phase by casting Bounce on himself. So Brea is not going to try to use Ice Bolt, and you do not need to Fend spell Necrosaro phase 7. And then remember there's a range, right? So if Necrosaro is like pretty full HP here, Brea's not going to cast Buy Kill. You got to do some damage. You got to get him down to like, you know, half, something like that. And then Brea can restore Buy Kills. Having him out will help. And he'll still do that same order. He'll do Ragnar, then Hero, then Alina. It's just how he's looking at damage output. And then the final note here. The default action is attacking, right? So what is the hero doing? The hero should usually be attacking. You're trying to get through this. You need to do damage. Hero also has a Sword of Lethargy equipped. You want Necrosaro to be asleep. However, right, sometimes the right thing to do is heal, right? Maybe you still have your leaf. Great. Hey, if an important character like Ragnar or Alina dies, use the leaf on him. Bring him back. Especially if you still have a long way to go in the phase. Using the Dew of the World tree, this is one of those tough things, because like at no point in this roadmap do we have this is the point where you use the Dew. It's just like, you know, it can save you, right? Full party heal. It's just the situation you're in. What I would say is don't be afraid to waste it. So many of these Necrosaro fights, you just never end up using it. If you get to a phase and you're like, you know, we've taken some damage, this could be looking pretty bad, that might be the one where you should use the Dew. So you just got to keep it in mind. Hero's inventory. She's got a leaf, she's got a Dew. And then don't forget, right? Hero knows the Vivify spell. Almost always. She doesn't here in this save file. And Christo knows the Vivify. Yeah, this was like pretty low level strats. In which case, yeah, Hero's not Vivifying. Honestly, Hero is probably not using Vivify very much in the Necrosaro fight. Doesn't matter. Alright. That's it. What if you die? Right? Who's ever died to Necrosaro? Well, if you die, the thing to keep in mind is that party AI learning thing, right? So we spent all this time teaching the party about Necrosaro's weaknesses. They also, even in the previous phases, spent a bunch of turns exposed to this particular phase of Necrosaro monster. So Ragnar probably has learned, hey, I shouldn't use the Sword of Lethargy as an item like anywhere in this fight. Christo has probably learned I shouldn't use the beat spell anywhere in this fight. It's just not going to work. So there's a benefit to not resetting if you die, which is your party members are going to be better next time. This is one of the cool things about Dragon Warrior IV, right? Yeah, your party members they'll just do better next time around. The downside is if you use your World Leaf or your World Dew, you either have to go out of your way to get them again, which is like, it's not that bad for the Dew. The Leaf is kind of annoying to go get another one. So in that case, you might still say, it's fine. I'm just going to reset. Cool. All right. Did I mention you should practice? You should practice this fight. All right. All of that in mind. Let's do a little walkthrough over here. I'm going to use save states just in case this goes off the rails. So this is just a save file I've got at Necrosaro that I use for some Necrosaro practice. We have everything set up as we talked about here in the preparation phase. So just to quickly review, the party order is Ragnar, Alina, Hero, and Christo. We've made sure that if Ragnar or Alina had high HP, then we've taken some of their equipment off to reduce their defense. It's not an issue for this Ragnar and this Alina. Neither one of them is particularly outstanding. Hero's inventory looks correct. She is holding the leaf. She's holding the Dew. She's holding the Sword of Decimation, and she's got the Sword of Lethargy equipped. Alright, Ragnar has the Sword of Lethargy equipped. Everyone is healed to full HP. Alright, and you see this is like a pretty good walkthrough of Necrosaro's Palace. Both Hero and Christo have like 80 MP. That's pretty good. It's better than normal, honestly. Like I said, I just try to have, if they're both above 60, I feel fine. If they're below that, I might be like using heal more instead of heal all every once in a while. I might do like a thing here or there to try to conserve MP. It just depends how drastic it is for you. All right, we are ready to go. Phase 1. Gawa. Alright. Here we are, Necrosaro. Our tactic for Necrosaro fight is defensive. Phase 1. We cast Fence Spell. Don't cast Fence Spell on Ragnar. Don't accidentally do it. It defaults to your party members. Cast it on Necrosaro. Alright, we're going to pay attention to who Necrosaro decides to hit this turn. He hits Alina, and then he hits Christo. Alright, because we're going to heal on phase 2, or on turn 2. So there's increase number 1. We got lucky there with the turn order. Hero went before Christo. A lot of the time, Christo is going to go before Hero. And then Christo is going to waste his first action. It's not a big deal. Alright. I am worried about Christo, so I'm going to heal Christo next. Oh! Nice. Alright. We're doing that, huh? I don't really know if I want to keep this just because I am trying to show things that are more probabilistic instead of less, but we have a World Leaf. This is going to... I don't think this is going to mess up the increase. It's fine. We have a Leaf. Use a Leaf. It is a, like, 8% chance for Christo to be targeted. Alright, so we have one increase on the party. We still need one more. There's the second one. Cool. So that's increase. That's objective 1. Objective 2 is buy kill, right? So we are going to switch Alina for Talon specifically, right? And we're going to start using the Sword of Decimation. Alright, got it on the first try, that's nice. So you see at the very end of the turn, Talon comes in. There was no risk that Christo was going to cast Vivify on Talon. That's good. Christo does not get to take an action, we're bringing in Bray. So, depending on how much damage I've done to Necrosaro up to this point, I may need to do more damage to him before we still buy kill, or I may want to parry and not do more damage. I'm pretty sure we have not done enough damage yet, so I'm going to attack this turn. Yep, so Bray's attacking, 1 damage point. That tells you you need to do more damage to Necrosaro before you're going to get buy kill, so just keep attacking. Sometimes around now, Ragnar might be starting to come down a little bit too much on HP, so you might need to like heal Ragnar. Alright, we're probably about the place we're going to start seeing buy kills, so I'm going to parry. I don't want to end this phase prematurely, so there's buy kill on Ragnar. Ragnar's going to hit him real hard. And now we're going to get Ragnar out of here. Place him with a ghost. We're parrying. There's buy kill on the hero. Bring in Alina. Terry. Alina's going to hit him. Sometimes Alina comes in, does a bunch of critical hits. You don't get buy kill on Alina. Like I said, it's not a big deal. This time around, we do get buy kill on Alina. Looking good. At this point, you could update your party, bring in Lucia. Personally, I like to just finish the phase out. It's simpler. A lot of the time you go through the menuing of changing the party members around, and then you just knock them into phase 2, and you have to do it all again. So it's just wasted menuing. Fine, whatever. Alright. That's phase 1. Phase 2. I'm just going to do a little save state. Cool. Okay. Phase 2. We finished all of our buy kill setup. And like I said, pretty much always that should have happened. So the only thing we're trying to do here in phase 2 is get the party order correct. And we're going to do this in the order of bring in Lucia, then bring in Ragnar, right? Because we don't want Bray to ever not be coffin blocked. So we're going to switch Bray for Lucia, and we're just attacking. This is the simplest, easiest Necrosaro phase. He's very weak. A note about this party swap right here. When you have a ghost in the front and you're about to bring in Ragnar, you go down to member and you just hold Turbo A. And it will automatically do the right thing. Just something. Alright, we should reduce his defense. This is going to go fast. And yeah, phase 2. Very simple. So Ragnar was the one who knocked him into the next phase, so we had a pretty decent chance, 3 in 8 chance, for this phase to start asleep. We didn't get lucky, but could have happened. Alright, here we are, phase 3. So I mentioned before, phase 3 is a bad phase. Right, this is scary. It's scary specifically because of beat and because of increase. Our objective, get through it as quickly as we can. Some people will use the Sword of Decimation proactively in this phase to try to get through it faster. Personally, I don't do that, but it can help you, right? That's kind of like you could go either way on that one. All right, let's see what he does. He is opening up a beat, used it on the hero. The hero did not die, fortunately. Hero put him to sleep. That's fine. Fortunately, hero is a little bit less likely to get hit with that than the others, both being in slot 3, but also having some resistance to the beat spell from the Zenithian armor. Like I mentioned before, it's really bad if hero does get hit with the beat spell, because it's one of the hardest things to recover. But let's see, he woke up. We're getting through it. He's probably going to get another... Nope, that's it. All right. Sweet. So that's about as good a phase 3 as you can probably ask for. If he had used increase, we would have used the Sword of Decimation to reduce his defense. I do not have a powered up Z sword on this save file. Alright, phase 4. So I mentioned when he transforms here from a yellow guy to a green guy, we're going to get a free turn. And if we're lucky, we'll put him to sleep on the free turn, but we'll see. See what happens. Necrosaro's belly writhes grotesquely. Alright, we did not put him to sleep. That's normal. So Necrosaro is somewhere in this attack pattern, right? But we do not know where. We need to act on the assumption that his next action is freezing waves, and we do not want to lose our buffs. So we are going to Iron Eyes. Alright, so he's on Meditate, so we're going to see his Meditate, Violent Blaze, Freezing Waves. So now we are as far in the cycle from Freezing Waves as we could possibly be, which means we're pretty safe. Next thing is to reduce his defense with a Sword of Decimation. Sometimes HP can get a little dicey in this phase, so we'll keep an eye on it, but right now it looks fine. Lucia's defense missed. It's actually pretty unlikely, but we got it with the sword. Alright. It's going to be Violent Blaze turn. We are going to do a bunch of damage to him now. Ah, put him to sleep. Nice. Yeah, specifically, Violent Blaze is the thing that does a lot of damage in this phase. So if you get hit with 1 or 2 Violent Blazes, there's a pretty good chance you're going to need to do some extra healing. Alright, we are through phase 4. We are going into phase 5. Let me make a updated save. So phase 5, a few things we're trying to do here. The first thing, we're going to take a turn with Alina still in the party here. Try to reduce his defense. Alina's just helping out by doing some extra damage. Double Scorching Gas, yeah. Lucia heals Ragnar, that's fine. Alright, defense is reduced. So there's a pretty good chance that Alina's going to get double healed here, but that's not a big deal. So we are removing Alina from the party at full HP so we can have a coffin block set up for Lucia, right? You should do this on the second turn of this phase, always. Don't put it off, because otherwise there's a good chance that Alina is going to still be in the party when you get into phase 6. Lucia is not going to be coffin blocked, and then Lucia will get punched and she will die. Right? Reduce or switch Alina for Talon specifically, right? Because he's the slow one. Heal all on Alina. Yeah. So, Alina got healed, I figured. But Necrosaro's going. He's gonna... Yeah, he actually hit her, so... All good, right? Worked out pretty fine. So she gets healed up to full, and she is gone. Alright, that's what we want. So from here on, we've got the right party order to finish out the phase, and we just need to take out the rest of his 800 HP. Lucia usually is pretty good about keeping everyone healed at this point. You might need to step in and do an extra heal with the hero. One thing that's interesting about Lucia is she's a guest, right? So just like Healy in Chapter 1, sometimes it really seems like she should heal, but she decides she doesn't want to. So it's something to keep in mind, right? Lucia is pretty good, but she's not 100% reliable. This is Dragon Warrior 4. There is randomness built into everything. Cool. That is phase 5. Phase 6. We got legs. Alright, starting this phase of sleep, it's kind of nice. So just like with phase 5, the first thing we're doing is we are using the Sword of Decimation to reduce his defense. Yeah, he woke up immediately. There we go. Cool. So, we are going to remove Lucia at about halfway through the phase here. I want her around for a minute to help us stay healed up while we do damage. I should also do one of these. But we do not want her when we go into phase 7. So let's do some damage. Yeah, you can see, you know, Ragnar in the front there, only taking like 25 damage from physical attacks. Lucia would take far more damage because she doesn't have the armor that Ragnar and the hero have, and she doesn't have the increases that they have, right? Alright. This is about the place where I'm going to take Lucia out. We want her to have pretty good HP, so I'm actually going to take one turn here to heal her. Necrosaro is asleep right now, so she is going to be completely safe. Let's get her out of here. I'm also going to heal the hero up. There we go. Alright, so Ragnar's at full HP. Hero's at full HP. Necrosaro's asleep. Let's do some damage. Wakes up. Alright, perfect. So this is what you want, ideally. You don't always get it, right? You're not always in essentially perfect shape going into phase 7. To be fair, we've used the leaf, and Christo is down 1 increase, but otherwise everything's perfect. And you can see Necrosaro did not start phase 7 asleep, which is normal. Alright, let's do a save state. So he's awake. Objective number 1. Ironize, to teach the party AI. We are ironizing. Like I said, I like to ironize 4 times. I would prefer to have a 92% chance that Ragnar does the right thing instead of a 80% chance. But plenty of people I respect just do 3. So it's up to you. Alright, let's save it here. Cool. We are here, right? Put Necrosaro to sleep while staying alive. This is most often where the fight goes wrong. If you've done everything right up to this point, you've got a little bit of buffer where you can get unlucky. But if you get unlucky over and over and over, then yeah, you can lose the fight here. Let's go. Alright, Necrosaro attacks. We've lost our buffs. Pretty typical. Remember, we're just trying to get him to sleep There we go. Nice. That's good. We haven't taken very much damage. Ragnar's still over 200. Hero's at full. So I'm not going to bring anyone out for healing right now. We're just going to try to get the Sword of Decimation to reduce his defense. It's a 5 out of 12 chance. So it will fail more often than it will succeed. He's still asleep. We're going to do it again. Didn't work. Wakes up. Alright, we got to put him back to sleep. Didn't get it. Violent Blaze. More Freezing Waves. Of course, now that we've lost our buffs, Freezing Waves is the best thing to see. Alright, so he's awake. We have 2 characters in the 130s. This is one of those places where we need to heal, right? There are too many ways to die right now. I'm going to bring in Lucia right now. I'm going to put her here in slot 3. I'm going to use the Worldly. Okay, Freezing Waves means that nobody's going to die this turn, which is nice. If he'd done like double Icy Wind, then we could have just been completely wiped, as you can see. But we're both out. I brought out Lucia just in case it would help. I don't need her now, so I'm going to take her back out. Let's try to get him to sleep. Physical. Alright. So this is, yeah, this is where it's tough. Alright, he's back asleep. Ragnar took some damage here. I'm going to bring Lucia back in just in case she wants to heal Ragnar. She might not, because he's not quite below half HP. But it would be so nice if she did. Alright, he woke up very quickly there. And back to sleep. Cool. We're just going to keep doing this. Lucia's not going to hurt anything by being there. It's fine. Keep trying. Lucia has surrounded herself. Very good. Yep, this is the experience. Trying to land the Sword of Decimation. 5 out of 12 chance every time. There we go. Alright, Necrosaro, right now, is asleep. We are going to bring in Alina. Remember, slot 4 in the back should always be Hero or Alina. In this case, it made sense for it to be Hero. If Lucia weren't out, I would put Alina in the back. I also don't want Ragnar to die, so this turn I am going to heal Ragnar up to full. Alina's hitting him. Alright, he's asleep. Perfect. Alright, so this is a great position to be in. We've got Alina out. She's by-killed. We've got Hero and Ragnar. Everyone's at full HP. We need to do more damage before we can restore the by-kills on Hero and Ragnar. So before I bring out Bray, I'm going to bring out Christo. And this is a turn to do damage. He's staying asleep, which is great. Here's Christo. He's going to help. 43 damage. Ragnar. All right. Now I'm going to bring out Bray. We're going to be very close to the line of whether Bray is going to feel like by killing or not. Just depends on how much damage we're doing. All right. He wakes up. Yeah. Bray went a little bit early there. Nice. Back to sleep. Alright, we're going to see by kill for sure this turn. There it is for Ragnar. And from here, fight is pretty much done. Bray's going to by kill the Hero here. Oh yeah. Oh, he's not because he's almost dead. There you go. That's what I was talking about. If Necrosaro doesn't have that much HP left, Bray is not going to feel the need to by kill. He's going to just try to hit somebody with his fists. Yeah, that was actually a pretty good example of that fight. So, there you go. Now, I hope that you have a better understanding of the entire Necrosaro fight and why we are doing the things we are doing throughout the fight. It's pretty complicated. If you have questions, ask them in the Dragon Warrior IV Discord, in the DQ RTA server. You can always ask me. Happy to help anyone understand this stuff. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. Don't forget that you can always look at Evil Ash's guide, and it will probably answer any questions you have. Alright. That was fun. Thanks for watching. Good luck.